evil.
1998. A fictional Midwestern location by the name of Racoon City. That's embarrassing. Bizarre murders where victims are apparently eaten. The story of this now iconic series begins at the crash site of a helicopter belonging to the Bravo unit of Racoon City's STARS team. Think SWAT and you'll get it. Anyways, Alpha Team arrives to find the missing half of their squad and put an end to the murders. But things go sour once they land. Spoiler alert, I think someone forgot their plot armor. Their pilot dips while becomes a zombified Scooby snack, thanks for the assist there, Jill, and the rest of Alpha Team scramble away while skillfully detonating the heads of countless jelly-smeared mutt puppets. They manage to make it to the safety of a nearby mansion before— oh my god! So yeah, Resident Evil's a goddamn B-movie. Carrying on! At the outset, you pick between two playable characters, Chris Redfield or Jill Valentine, and who you decide on changes a few distinct aspects of your experience. First being, who escapes into the main hall of the mansion.
Barry!
Wow.
Where's Barry?
What a mansion!
This inherently changes the eventual ending of the game, but Resident Evil takes it a step further by introducing unique traits and companions to add distinct flavors to each playthrough. Chris has more health, but not as much precious inventory space as his counterpart. Jill, however, has the unique ability of being great at everything, as evidenced by being a
Master of unlocking.
and performing complex chemistry to solve certain puzzles. These same puzzles in Chris's track require the assistance of his companion, Rebecca Chambers.
Oh no!
A survivor of Bravo Team and the youngest member of STARS. She can play Moonlight Sonata like a son of a bitch.
Wait.
And is generally terrified of— so thankfully, Chris's brawn has something to counterbalance. Jill's companion is Barry Burton, an admittedly entertaining, if bumbling character, who is unique in the fact that he may actually be more than one-dimensional.
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Grain of salt. No matter who you choose, the story beats run congruent to one another. While trapped in the mansion, the remaining members learn that the grounds are a hotbed for undead activity, and these perpetually peckish patrons have already picked away at most of Bravo Team.
This house is dangerous. There are terrible demons.
Not only aided by their aforementioned companions, but also by their superior, Captain Albert Wesker, they explore deeper into the grounds, only to learn that a dark secret lies behind many, many convoluted puzzles and sophomoric security systems. In simplest terms, the mansion is an obstacle course escape room, where you are the sad choo-choo train that clumsily avoids the nibbling teeth of bastard, bitch, or beak as you move key items from point A to B in an effort to find more key items to run from point B to C, and so on. Enemies get more complicated to fight and evade as each iteration brings its own set of problems to the table. So you've got zombies, slow, dumb, think wall is num-num. Dogs! Paying attention? Good. Don't be like Joseph. Hunters are the greatest threat in the game, and without a high-powered weapon at your disposal, you have two options: run or die! These test tube experiments hit like a freight train, and apparently, they really enjoy the art of dismemberment, as lovingly detailed in a late-game collectible file. Or this. Speaking of collectibles, these little snippets bear the weight of world building due to the—
Ouch!
You're wounded!
situation. And while they are laughably absurd at times, they are effective in dishing out the necessary information. It's worth noting that a botched localization from Resident Evil's native Japanese script, already colored with all that B-movie flair, is why we find the English port in such a hilariously dumbfounding place. Moving on, our heroes soon discover an underground passage beneath the mansion, and find a heavily injured captain of Bravo Team, Enrico, and he's dead. Before he's shot by an unseen third party, he reveals that there's a traitor in their midst. Digging a little deeper into the caverns, they discover a full-blown underground lab owned by pharmaceutical company Umbrella, where the virus responsible for reanimating and mutating the dead was engineered. Quick hacks, finger guns, and fist pumps later, it's revealed that a shock! Albert Wesker was affiliated with Umbrella and orchestrated the entire encounter for research. Helpful only as to gather more data for his battle test, he imprisons the Unchosen player character and blackmails Barry into helping him further his goals.
I hear that his wife and 2 daughters will be in danger if he doesn't do everything I tell him to.
His ego quickly outshining his hair dye, he marches our heroes at gunpoint to unveil his mighty test tube baby.
Tyrant! Chris? Stop it.
Hoping to see it in action, he quickly becomes the action, leaving Chris Jill alone to deal with the Super Beast.
You can't kill me!
While starting something of a tradition for the series, players race against the clock to escape before the lab explodes with the Tyrant hot on their heels. They manage to call in the cowardly pilot from the intro.
This is Brad!
Oh, I'm sorry. Brad, who decides now is an appropriate time to drop the heavy artillery, and our heroes turn the Tyrant into little tiny bits. In one of 4 possible endings based on who you manage to rescue, our heroes fly off into the sunrise, simply happy to be alive. And that's it. Aside from a handful of unlockable weapons and outfits rewarded based on how quickly you completed the game, it ends as quickly as it began. No sequel baiting, no to be continued. Until...
Resident Evil 2.
Released after 2 development cycles and shipped on 2 discs, the sequel makes it clear what its favorite number is. Set 2 months after the original game and featuring 2 new characters, the first thing we come to learn is that our brave actors have been replaced by Muppets. Standing in for a potentially worse actor is Leon Kennedy, a rookie cop whose first day sees him dishing out street justice after his boots get scuffed by a cadaver. On the other disc is Claire Redfield, raiding her brother's wardrobe so she can ride in style to his rescue. The 2 strangers face their own realizations that shit has gotten real before something else rears its shiny head.
Get down!
Continuity! In a welcome shift away from the first game's clumsy handling of its own chronology, the sequel doubles down on making this aspect, well, shine. After a chance encounter, Leon offers Claire a ride to the police station so she can get answers about her brother's recent disappearance. But a blood-drunk driver bisects their joint excursion. Depending on who you've decided to play first, the car will crash forward or backward. And what may seem a trivial detail erupts into what can only be considered an alternate dimension when the tanker explodes. You heard correctly. 2 campaigns with 2 campaigns. Our unlucky survivors dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge their ways through multiple blocks of cannibalistic carnage before finally arriving at the RPD. Oh, hi, Brad. They meet an officer named Marvin Brannick who clues them in on the goings-ons and what-have-yous.
Chris and the other STARS members discovered that Umbrella was behind everything, but no one believed them.
The pair have brief run-ins with a fleeing child before they reconvene in the STARS office upstairs, and after committing the mortal sin of perusing a grown man's diary, learn that he's gone off the radar to fight Umbrella on his own terms. Leon gives Claire a spare radio and they both separate again, hoping to find a safe way out of the station. Umbrella, however, has other plans and drop a literal man out of the sky to reclaim something of theirs and kill all witnesses. Teaching our new heroes that he does in fact eat bullets for breakfast, they are forced to run and hide whenever his mighty hooves clop onto the scene. Leon investigates the parking garage, and sparks fly as he meets Ada Wong, a woman who is looking for her womp womp boyfriend, John, who worked for the now disgraced Umbrella. She helps Leon clear the way to the holding cells, where they discover a reporter named Ben, who has information regarding Umbrella, but refuses to share it or leave his cell until safe passage has been secured. Leon and Ada leave the man alone and continue searching for a safe exit. While helping the officer open a new path, Ada notices the same fleeing child from earlier, who drops a pendant containing a picture of her family. Meanwhile, Claire has a run-in with a profoundly unhinged captain of the RPD, Brian Irons, and they discuss important zombie lore.
There must be some way to stop it.
Either by putting a bullet through her brain, or by decapitating her completely.
After leaving the man to brood with his corpse bride, Claire finally catches up to the young girl who has been skillfully avoiding the gang. Her name is Sherry Birkin, and she has the daddy issue of daddy issues. Literally. Her dad is now a 10-foot-tall, asymmetrical bodybuilder with an ocular organ for a shoulder, and he's currently accosting Ben with his strong hand. Leon overhears the scuffle from a distance and rushes to help, only to find a battered Ben propped up against a wall. He gives Leon the proof he promised, but before Leon has a chance to glance, Ben reenacts a scene from his favorite horror movie. Our knockoff chestburster scurries away as Ada enters the room, and the two casually read their proof. The document acquired from Ben reveals that Captain Irons took a petty bribe of $10,000 from Umbrella in return for the whereabouts of the remaining STARS members. As if swept on by the plot winds, Ada runs off towards the water treatment plant in the sewers below. Leon alerts Claire of the new plan by radio, and he chases after her. He catches up just in time to stumble into a bullet, and Ada chases after the trigger-happy sewer dweller. A dazed Leon recovers moments later and stumbles aimlessly through the sewers in search of his companion. Ada is disarmed and held at gunpoint by the runner, who is revealed to be Umbrella researcher Annette Birkin. They're everywhere! The sequel remembers its roots for a moment as Annette hyper-contextualizes the significance of Ada's name.
One of the men from Chicago who came to assist the T-virus research used his girlfriend's name as his password. Ada and John, I believe.
She then reveals that William became paranoid after Umbrella was outed by STARS and attempted to barter immunity with samples of the T-virus, for Tyrant, and his new virus, the G-virus, for Golgotha. He was stopped by a rogue coffee cup, but not before he injected himself with Golgotha, and went full fucking nanners. Not satisfied with simply eating the Umbrella hit squad, he shouts L'chaim and eats the Golgotha samples while sewer rats drink up the liquid from the shattered T-virus vials, spreading the disease around the city. Snapping out of her omniscient flashback, Annette notices that Ada is wearing her daughter's pendant, and fearing the worst, attacks her. Ada shows that her pimp hand is strong and knocks Annette off the platform. Ada clutches at the pendant, which opens a hidden compartment that contains a sample of Golgotha. She then climbs a nearby ladder to ensure the job is done, but notices something stirring in the water below. Leon suddenly breaks the tense silence and is surprised when a Godzilla cosplay breaches the murk. He offers the beast a Tic Tac, but soon learns that it's allergic. He catches up to Ada, and the two find a hidden tram platform which leads to another Umbrella lab. After being briefly interrupted by Umbrella's mutated Macho Man, who is revealed to be in search of flashy jewelry, they continue their descent, only for the platform to suddenly stop halfway to its destination. Leon leaves a wounded Ada behind to reactivate the tram, but as soon as he enters a nearby ventilation shaft, the tram restarts, separating the two. Elsewhere, in Claire's campaign, her and the young Sherry make their way to Leon's location using Chief Irons' secret taxidermy dungeon, just in time to see Irons himself get put on display. Claire says bombs away to a crazed William, and the duo reach the sewers, only for William to snatch Sherry away before Claire can say touche.
Where are you?
She rushes to her rescue but comes face to face with Annette on the lower levels. Annette regurgitates the same exposition to Claire before continuing on with an addendum. Zombie William is searching for suitable hosts for his parasitic embryos, and Sherry, due to their shared genetic makeup, is a perfect candidate. Claire finally interrupts to say that this is probably exactly what's happening now, and the two decide to split up to find her faster. Claire finds her unconscious, and when she stirs her awake, one of William's tentacles scurry away from the scene. They follow Annette into the lab so a cure can be synthesized, but Sherry becomes too weak and is left in a safe room, while Claire heads off on her own in search of Annette. Meanwhile, Leon is stalked by Mr. Clean on the far side of the labs as he continues to reconnect with Ada. After getting a little breathing room, he's held up by Annette, who explains to Leon that he's helping the wrong people. She reveals that Ada is a spy for a rival organization who's been trying to steal Umbrella's work for years, and she's only using him to further her goals.
That can't be. I know her.
Their conversation is cut short by Paul Bunyan, and Annette flees while Leon is distracted. Claire soon runs into Annette, who is found trying to reason with her rapidly mutating husband. He shows that his pimp hand is strong before hopping away after noticing Claire's flagrant attire, leaving his dying wife to conveniently hand off the hand guide to zombie cures. At the same time, Leon is cornered by the bionic biohazard when suddenly Ada comes to his rescue. She is grabbed, but retorts by aggressively rearranging his face bits. He retorts by tossing her into a nearby console and diving face first into a vat of magma. Ada is heavily injured, and Leon runs to her side. Sparks fly as they share a face munch, and the moment is quickly ruined when Ada seemingly dies. And the lab's self-destruct sequence is activated. Claire finishes synthesizing the vaccine as the alarms begin to blare, and she soon notices Leon on a CCTV screen. She radios him about Sherry, asking him to attend to her while she powers up their escape tram. Once she inserts the railway's external batteries, she's jumped by the walking pectoral muscle, now revealed to be a tyrant. She scrambles to fight the ludicrously fast creature, but only gains the upper hand after a mysterious woman tosses her a rocket launcher from the shadows above.
You lose, big guy.
Little, tiny bits. She meets Leon on board, and together they administer the vaccine to Sherry. But all seems lost when they discover an illegal passenger. William, now an amorphous mass, slugs his way toward them from the far cabin. They make the genius decision to stop the train early and outrun the explosion on foot, leaving the zombie blob thing to cook as they dive out of the tunnel just in time to miss the backdraft. The three survivors take a moment of respite before Leon stands and delivers the coup de grace of his spoken lines.
Hey, it's up to us to take out Umbrella.
Resident Evil
3. Showing the world that pre-sequels have been hip since 1999, our third adventure begins before the second even got the memo. As waves of the undead prove STARS correct in their accusations, the city's infrastructure throws everything it has at the problem. Unfortunately, our brain-dead villains counted on these actions and corrected the mistake by indulging their mutagenic munchies. Deemed a no-no place by state officials, the city is put under quarantine, and military forces retreat to the outskirts, leaving the townsfolk to fend for themselves. Turning in her STARS badge for a considerable attitude and a tube top is series veteran Jill Valentine, our sole protagonist this time around. She immediately proves she's not above somersaulting out of burning buildings or shoulder-checking away incoming chompers in order to help citizens in need, even if they're belligerent beyond reason.
Told you! I'm not leaving! Never!
An ill-fated Brad is chased up and down Brain Street until Jill finally catches up, reminding him she's not quite over his cowardly ways. He explains that someone is targeting STARS members and hurriedly darts away to the police station where— oh, I see where this is going. Jill follows behind only to see a literal man drop out of the sky and attack Brad. Looking much like the love child of RE2's Trenchcoat Lad and Sloth from the Goonies, he wastes no time in shoehorning his way into the cannon by accosting Brad with his own strong hand. We learn that Jill has added foresight to her repertoire as she decides how best to handle the monosyllabic monster and one of many new live selection sequences. No matter her decision, she finds that he's basically a loot piñata and steals some weapon parts off his gently sleeping body. Once inside, she meets an officer named Marvin Branagh, who is riding the line between playing dead and actually dead while he unconsciously awaits our previous duo's arrival. She quickly realizes that the RPD is unsafe and heads back into the bloody streets in search of a new escape plan. No matter where Jill's search takes her, she meets an Umbrella mercenary by the name of Carlos Oliveira, whose awkward first meeting is made more awkward by a third wheel. They deal with the threat together before Jill begins to question his motivations.
Wait, I have to ask you something.
You want to ask me out?
What? Keep dreaming.
Adamant that he's on a civilian rescue mission, he lets Jill know that his team is stationed nearby and could use her help. She reluctantly meets him and is introduced to his companions, Nikolai, and a gravely wounded Mikhail. They explain that they have an evac chopper waiting for them at a nearby clock tower, but their tram is inoperable, and naturally send her on a series of fetch quests around the city for wires, fuses, and assorted juices. While running her errands, Jill soon catches up to Nikolai, who executes one of his colleagues before he has a chance to object.
It took fewer bullets to kill him now than it would have if he had transformed.
Reeking of Wesker fumes, Jill leaves the man to his typing while she searches for more supplies. Suddenly, the undead hordes follow the scent and surround the building. Jill is forced to steam clean a group while Nikolai screams in the distance. She runs to his aid but only finds his laptop in a puddle of blood. After torching a gas station and overloading a power relay, she collects the required items and returns to the tram. The group completes their repairs, but an unexpected guest derails their escape. Mikhail shows him what a nemesis is and derails the train with a sacrificial grenade show. Jill and Carlos conveniently crash into the clock tower building and work together to ring the bell tower and signal their escape vehicle. They rush to meet the pilot, but a lack of self-destruct sirens remind us that this is not the end for our heroes. And Jill's persistent pursuer flash cooks the chopper before probing Jill's shoulder with his wristicle. He plays Ring Around the Rosie with his prey, but Jill's sweet skills prove too powerful, and he decides to take a nap on a trash fire. Jill faints from her injuries, and Carlos rushes her to the clock tower's nap room. She awakens, but immediately realizes that she feels sick, and Carlos rushes to a nearby hospital to synthesize a vaccine for her. He runs into a fellow Umbrella mercenary, Tyrell, who reveals that Nikolai is still alive and killing off loose ends. He opens a nearby safe to collect evidence for Umbrella, but is caught off guard by an explosive present. Carlos rushes on and uses the hidden lab in the hospital's basement to concoct a cure for Jill. But as soon as he makes his way into the lobby, he realizes the building is rigged to explode. He is allowed just enough time to escape before more proof against Umbrella is turned into cinders. He returns to Jill, but not before Nemesis awakes from his trash nap and races him to our undefended hero. They duke it out like men, but Carlos overcomes his foe and gives Jill the vaccine. Before she has a chance to shake off the sleepies, Carlos warns her that Nikolai is still alive and killing indiscriminately. Carlos leaves Jill alone again to find his supervisor and put an end to him. Jill follows the killer's trail to a nearby factory, where she is again jumped by the vascular vigilante. Instead of admitting defeat, she dives off the rope bridge and swims into the factory's sewer system. Like turds from the murk, zombies suddenly rise from the water and surround her, only to be rescued by Carlos's immaculate trigger discipline.
Rescuing you is becoming a full-time job.
He then alerts her that the US has deemed Racoon City a biohazard and plan to nuke the city in the coming hour. They split up again to track down Nikolai, but Jill soon finds herself trapped in a trash compactor with a very grumpy nemesis, who calms down once Jill gives him an acid bath. Hoping to finally be rid of her clingy crush, she catches up to Nikolai, who has already stolen their escape chopper. She appeals to his humanity before he simply flies away, leaving her and Carlos stranded. Knowing now that the end is extremely fucking nigh, they split up to find another way out, but Jill is again trapped in a room with the scourge of her life, who munches on a dead tyrant so he can grow up to be big and strong like his mommy told him. Using the factory's obligatory rail cannon, she launches the beast to Kingdom Come, but is surprised when it slinks back toward her. She finishes it off in true action movie fashion by spitting a one-liner at the writhing mass.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
Jill limps into the factory courtyard as the sun begins to rise, when suddenly Carlos appears with more exposition. A pilot is radioing for her, and flying in fast. When it arrives, Jill and Carlos hop aboard, and immediately Jill recognizes her savior as Barry Burton. The trio take to the skies as the missile whizzes by them and vaporizes the city. At the culmination of 3 iconic games comes the end of an era that innovated on the concept of cinematic storytelling in games. The series' Romero-inspired horror roots slowly sloughed away as each entry refined on their past faults to develop styles all their own. The Resident Evils of old were, be it intentional or not, tongue-in-cheek explorations of conspiracy, betrayal, and triumph in the face of impossible odds. Though, as the third game cranked the wheel towards a self-referential singularity, it's easy to see how the series lost its way in later years. But if there's one thing this trilogy can teach us, it's that in a world full of megalomaniacs, superviruses, and corporate subterfuge, you are always somebody else's pawn.